Richmond showed us a race in two parts. The first was a long green flag run conquered by Paul Williams and Daniel Knight, and the second half of repeat cautions, leading to Jared Mogard clawing his way through the field to take the win over Bradley Holly. But as we cross the halfway point of the season tonight, we kick off the second half with a whole different beast as we take to the legendary Talladega for round 6 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by Diecast Kings. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Our director tonight will be Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Talladega may be our director's favorite place on the NASCAR calendar. It's a place full of memories and speed, and to learn more about this legendary locale, let's send you down to our track guide. And by track guide, I obviously mean sending it down to Chris Phoebe to talk to us about how these trucks are going to race around this very storied circuit.
Okay, so you guys know how a racing vehicle has three pedals: gas, brake, clutch. They're going to hit the gas and then they're just going to keep doing that for around 2.66 miles per lap. And then they're going to get really close to each other, called drafting. You're going to see a lot of that. And that's Talladega.
It's a very exciting track indeed. And we also have a season sponsor this season, which is Diecast Kings. You can shop Diecast Kings, your home for the best selection of NHRA, NASCAR, and now introducing IndyCar diecast for the 2020 season. You can pick yours up today at diecastkings.com. And Chris, we also have a league sponsor.
That's right. League sponsor is the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebuttkicker.com today to view their full line of products.
So as the drivers go around on our practice tonight, we also have a drivers' championship to talk about, and that is currently being led by Bradley Holly. After a couple of consistent races at the front, 2 wins and a second place, he is now 17 points ahead of Ken Huber. Rob Haynes is 24 points back of Bradley Holly, with Jared Mogard only 3 points back of Rob Haynes for that 4th position. A good increase with his win last week. Paul Williams, after a decent finish last week, claws his way onto the top of the leaderboard with 5th position, 28 points back. All right, Chris, you have the team's championships for us today as well.
That's right. Looking at the team side, very similar. A member of the Whataback Car Ramrod team is on top of the driver standings, and the team is leading on the team side. A pretty healthy 36-point gap back to 24/7 Racing, the 2nd position. Rescue Racing Puppers are 3rd, 41 points back. Then just a handful of points back from them is the Whataback Back Row Racing Squad, and the Ballistic Union still hanging out there in the 5th spot, 76 markers out of the lead.
So the teams and the drivers' championships starting to gap a little bit at the lead. All right, for those of you who may be new to this series or new to iRacing in general, we are on round 6 of 10 here at the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. They're using the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoor Series trucks tonight, and they'll be doing 50 laps or 1 hour, whichever comes first. They have 24 incidents, and that is a hard cap, so they will disappear from the track if they reach that, but it's hard to reach that at Talladega. They're running 100% fuel, and they will not have a spare truck tonight.
Yeah, that lack of a fast repair is going to be a real difference maker here. These guys are going to be very close to each other for most of the race. As you can kind of see on your screen right now, the draft is the way to be around Talladega. So with these drivers locked in very close to each other, there's not a huge margin for error. So look for that lack of fast repair to hopefully keep these drivers having their heads on their shoulders.
There's a minute and a half left in practice, and one thing we need to talk about, which we haven't talked about a lot this season because it hasn't really been a factor, but here at Talladega it might be. There are these things called caution points, and as you see a caution breaking out, well, what would be a caution in the real race breaking out on track right now, if a driver is found at fault for a caution, they're going to get responsibility points for causing that caution, and they get 1 point for causing a caution during the race. If they reach 3 points within a 3-race span, they will have to sit out of a race. If they have 2 points, they will have to start from the rear of the field. So fortunately, nobody is at threat of that tonight, but coming out of tonight, I'd expect some people might be right on the cusp of having to sit out a race or start from the rear.
Yeah, they like to say Rubbins Racing, but there is definitely limits to that.
All right, Chris, we have a pretty big field tonight. 30 trucks rather, out there tonight. With 30 seconds left in practice, what are your predictions going into tonight?
Well, the cool thing about Talladega is you can sit here and predict all you want, but chances are once they get onto the track, it's going to be a crapshoot. There's so much possibility for disaster here at Talladega, and also opportunity for drivers that you don't see up front very often to catch a lucky run, maybe hit the draft just right and get to the front. So I think the only thing we can predict is that it's going to be unpredictable.
Saw a couple drivers there practicing their burnouts on the pavement, getting ready to try and win this race. And as we start qualifying now, Chris, how important is qualifying going to be? Do drivers want to start at the front here at Talladega?
I think a lot of it has to do with how exactly you want to head into the race strategy wise. You're going to have drivers that really want to hang out at the back for most of the day and make a move towards the end once all the chaos has kind of settled. But on the flip side of that, you're also going to have drivers that want to start up front, lead as many laps as possible, and stay ahead of the danger. So really, there's probably going to be 2 or 3 different agendas we see running through this qualifying session.
So a decent number of drivers heading out onto the track right now. This is the 666 of Kevin Santana, who's heading out in his green truck. This is a long lap that we have going on, and you can see Kevin Santana going all the way up to the high side. Different strategies for taking this qualifying. Kevin Santana staying up on that high side, going around the track. Is that the preferred way to get the most speed around here?
That's always the thought process I've kind of gotten from watching races on TV over the years, and in my experience in iRacing is you start your first lap up towards the top of the track. You get as much speed built up as you can by having that higher banking to kind of help you along. So then by the time you run your quick lap, you're going to actually keep the truck glued to that yellow line on the inside of the track. And that's the shortest distance around the track and hopefully the quickest time.
So as you can see, the 666 staying high on his first lap. There are a couple of other drivers out there, such as Mike Richter, who's taking the opportunity to try and go around the shortest way on that yellow line, like you mentioned, Chris. So a couple of different strategies going on in qualifying today.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about, I guess it's not a restrictor plate on the trucks, but this style of racing is there's so many different ways to do it, and not very many of them are the wrong way. I mean, you can definitely see when it goes wrong, but there's really so many different interpretations of this style of racing, and that's part of what makes it so much fun.
All right, so a couple of drivers coming across right now in the 1 minute range, so they have not actually completed a lap, but our first lap should be coming in now. We just had Mike Richter cross the line. He is going to go to the top of the board with a 55.95, quickly duped by Mark Kalin, who goes a good amount faster, almost a tenth and a half.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you're going to see a significant difference in what was the top practice times versus what these drivers are doing in qualifying. These are single truck runs here in qualifying, whereas they were able to draft in practice earlier today.
Yeah, whereas our race pace will be somewhere in the 51 to 52 second range for these drivers. Their qualifying times are going to be closer to the mid 55s as we're seeing right now. Our best time is Mark Kalin with that 55.815 as Craig Holden coming across the line now.
Yeah, now one thing that's, I guess, frustrating from a driver perspective here is there's not a lot you can do on a qualifying lap here to really improve your time. I mean, you can probably speak to it quite a bit as well, Adam. You're you're just pedal down and hoping for the best.
Yeah, the best thing you can do to improve that time is to reduce the amount of inputs into the wheel. Even if you start drifting up off of that yellow line, you really need to just let the truck rather do what it wants to do. You see a lot of these guys going on the apron through the tri-oval there, and that can be faster, but sometimes it can actually hurt your qualifying time, such as Colton Lane, who did not get a faster time around his second time. He was in the 56s, so a couple of the drivers losing time by dropping down to that apron through the tri-oval.
Yeah, interestingly enough, you look at the top of the charts right now, Ken Huber and Jay Felton ran identical laps to the thousandth of a second. 55.805 is the quick time. I believe Huber gets it based on the fact that he did put the time in first.
And iRacing does not show us. They do have it down to, I believe it is 5 decimal places, but they only give us 3 to look at. So here we go. Charles Sumner, though, beats both of them out, going 8/1000ths of a second faster.
Yeah, first driver to break into the 55 second bracket during qualifying, so that's going to put Sumner at the top of the charts.
So Colton Lane done with his laps. Charles Sumner just finishing his, and it looks like that is going to be everybody who is going to have set a time. Brandon Walt looks like he's set all of his times as well. So yeah, so only about just over half the field took times, and that will lead us to our starting grid.
There we go. Looks like it's clicked down. So we're going to head over to our starting grid here momentarily.
All right, so taking pole today is going to be Charles Sumner on pole, taking it from Ken Huber and Jay Felton by only 8/1,000ths of a second there, whereas Jay Felton in that third position is going to be alongside Colton Lane in fourth. Then we have Kevin Santana in fifth position with Mark Kalin in sixth. Daniel Knight's going to be in seventh with JR Bash in eighth position. Adam Zemke's going to start off ninth with Brett Adams rounding out your top 10.
As we head over to the 11th place on the grid, that's going to be Brandon Walter with Adam Young in the 12th position. 13th on the grid is Stacy Hunter with Adam Schoen, 14th. Blaine Adams, 15th. And Mike Richter in 16th. Then our final drivers to enter in a time are going to be Craig Holden in the 70 and Barron Hilton in the 02, followed by Bradley Holly and our winner from a week ago, Jared Mogard.
These guys are being gridded as of points, so that means Dominic Regine's going to be in the 21st position with Rob Haynes in 22nd, Paul Williams 23rd, Josue Telez 24th, Thomas Sink, Matthew Aubrey, Nicholas Hunter, John LaBaff, Brendan Chatley, and Austin Hunter round out your 30 truck field for this race. All right, so as we get ready to grid, we definitely have a couple of interesting factors going into this race, one of which is the new tire model, and the other of which being the new track surface that they have going on around here, and also the new trucks with their new engines. How much are these new factors going to affect the drivers? I don't think they've raced at Talladega since the new tire model or the new engine model came out.
It's definitely going to be a wild card for these drivers. We have a lot of really experienced people in the field, but on the flip side of that, nobody has any experience on this configuration. So it's going to be just yet another monkey wrench in a race that can be a little wild on its own.
Yeah, and Chris, one of the things I was noticing in practice was just how strong the draft was. The second line, while everyone seemed to string down into the bottom lane during the trial starts that they did, the second line formed very quickly and was actually very quick around that outside, or at least the second or third row were, and it led to some three-wide battles very early on. I'm guessing that we're going to be expecting some three-wide action fairly early, and then things to settle down.
I wouldn't be surprised one bit, and that would definitely make for a great race for our viewers at home as well as us here in the booth.
So Charles Sumner will lead them to the line with Ken Huber on his outside. How important is it to get a good jump here, or are you just stuck on that outside when you hit the green flag?
The thing I'm most frustrated by with this style of racing is when you come down for a start or a restart, you put the pedal down, and then it's like you're basically trying to drive through a giant pool of jello. So I don't think we're going to see very much in the way of a breakaway. Just not really conducive to this style of vehicle.
And remember, for those of you keeping your eye on the point standings, Bradley Holly will be starting off 19th alongside Jared Mogard in 20th. So they're starting at the back of the field. Look for them to ride around back there and then claw their way forward as we get later on this race. All right, the pace car has jumped off. These trucks can now start whenever they would like once that pace car jumps into the pit lane. So here we go with Charles Sumner getting ready to launch them. He waits. He might even wait all the way through the tri-oval, considering the start-finish line is on the other end. Still waiting. The field patient beside him. And now he goes. A very quick jump from everybody, including Ken Huber on the outside. Jay Felton and Colton Lane getting good starts as well. It's going to be too wide as they enter 1 and 2.
It's like everybody staying too wide here as we get this race underway.
Still side by side for first position, as it looks like Ken Huber's getting a really good run on that outside. He's got decent pace there. The 60 of Colton Lane looking like he's going to have connection issues. That can really affect the draft if you're not careful. Ken Huber actually falling back because of the lack of having that 60 truck up there. So this is going to give an opportunity to the bottom line. That's Charles Sumner, Jay Felton, Kevin Santana, and Daniel Knight. Colton Lane going to the high side, noticing his connection issues. He's just going to get out of there and make sure to not get in the way. We have a second line forming on the outside. That's the 28 truck of JR Bash trying to claw up to the back of Mark Kalin and Ken Huber. Mark Kalin doing a good job of trying to stay on the back of Ken Huber, but Ken backing up to him quite slowly.
Yeah, as we mentioned, a lot of different agendas being addressed out here on the track. You have your drivers that are going to be trying to hang back as much as possible, and you also have several of them that want to get to the front as quick as possible. And you also have to worry about those same drivers meeting in the middle.
Single file for the first 4, but then we have Ken Huber and Mark Kalin on the outside, making quite a charge around there in the second lane, doing an excellent job holding that top line. The bottom line doing a good job of holding their line as well, so everyone being very kind to each other at this moment.
And 50 laps is a pretty decent distance here at Talladega. So a lot of these drivers probably also want to make sure they're there at the end of this one, as we see a bit of a push going on up in that outside line right now as Ken Huber with a big head of steam. Looks like he's getting the push there. Oh, this 666 truck actually slid up the track there a little bit with 17 of Daniel Knight right behind him as the battle up front is shaping up.
Bottom line is a little bit broken up with Adam Zemke falling off the back, so is Stacy Hunter. So as we're on board, this Soylent Green truck ahead of them in the 666 doing a good job staying on the back of them, but that top line is really organized and going quickly.
That's right, Soylent Green is people, and those people are pushing in that third slot in the front row.
Ken Huber is that yellow truck you see out on the outside with the 62 right up on behind him. How long can Adam Zemke stay up behind Ken Huber that close before he gets too hot?
I was going to say, it greatly depends on how much he wants his engine to remain intact. If he's trying to maybe cook an egg on it, he can stay back there as long as he wants. Or maybe he'd like to scatter some pieces of drivetrain along the track. But unfortunately, if he wants to race the one, he will have to duck out occasionally to get a gulp of fresh air in that radiator.
And just to remind you guys, these drivers are driving fixed setups tonight, so that means that tape is out of the question. They cannot adjust their tape settings. So if their trucks are getting hot, they're going to have to handle that with their driving style alone. We're on board with Charles Sumner looking out the back.
And that's another thing with the bump traps that we'll probably see come into use a few times is you have to make sure those bumpers line up just right. If you make the bump and you're a little bit off center, you're going to send that person in front of you for a ride.
Well, we had a truck, in the wall momentarily. That was Mike Richter. He's now dropping back through 20th position. And actually, our top 19 trucks are in a nice solid pack right there, and then we start to get single file back there behind the 51 truck of Mike Richter. That is Bradley Hawley leading that pack, and we have a truck that just dropped down to the bottom lane. That's Charles Sumner going to the back. That's our leader who just dropped out of the lane and dropped down to the apron. That is an interesting development.
Yeah, he noped right out of there.
Well, yeah, that's definitely changing things for sure.
I did hear him come over the driver chat channel and thank the field for letting him back in. So not sure if maybe this was a planned move by Sumner.
Possibly, but Ken Huber now on the outside of Jay Felton, who is on the bottom lane, getting pushed very hard by Kevin Santana. That time, ooh, a hard push by the 23 into the 28 truck. That is Brett Adams pushing JR Bash. That went 3 wide for a moment. JR Bash having to back out of it. The whole top lane is broken up now. I'm on board with the 23 to see how that push happened.
Ooh. I guess that was a bit of an off-center shot.
Yeah, so a little bit off-center and a little bit hard coming into that corner. That's just what upset the truck. And now you can see how bottled up they are now. Just everything a little bit strung out at the moment. So that's going to allow the opportunity for that bottom line to reorganize and everything to break up a little bit. No top line challenge anymore. Jay Felton leads over Kevin Santana, Daniel Knight, Mark Kalin, and Ken Huber, all in line for the top 5.
Yeah, looks like, what is it, the first maybe 7 or 8 trucks are all single file right now, as we are working lap number 7. So these drivers playing nice so far for the most part and trying to be there at the end.
And the entire field actually is going to go single file here. The last side-by-side battle is between Nicholas Hunter and Dominic Regine back in the 25th and 6th spot. And they actually are still side-by-side back there, but our leaders up front, Jay Felton, Kevin Santana, Daniel Knight, just riding single file right now. Kevin Santana still tucked up under the back of Jay Felton. At some point, he's going to have to lift for a little bit of breathing room, and that might bring up that second line.
Yeah, there is always opportunity in necessity.
And look at this. Oh, Jared Mogart gets tipped a little bit. That's not right. Sorry, that was JR Bash getting tipped once again. Jared Mogart trying to follow JR Bash up to the high line, but JR Bash deciding not to do it. Jared Mogart drops down in line in front of Adam Shane, who then gets upset. And now we have another truck going to the high side. That's the 62 of Mark Kalin.
Now, with all these teams out there and the teams championship being still up for grabs, how much do you expect maybe team orders to play a role in this one, Adam?
Well, I'd expect if there's team orders going on, those trucks are going to be at the back of the field because this front of the field is starting to get really scrappy. JR Bash has had 2 moments that were almost disaster. Here's Kevin Santana jumping to the outside, looking for the lead from Jay Felton.
Yeah, but it looks like he does not have any help. You have the 62 of Mark Kalin making a charge to try to get to his back bumper. But I don't know if he'll still have the momentum by the time Kalin gets there.
The bottom lane getting very held up, and that might open a 3-wide opportunity up, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. Mark Kalin trying to get up to the back of it, but look at how he's going to the outside, trying to cool off that truck. The 666 of Kevin Santana there with a decent run on the outside, but he just can't get the move done, and he's a little bit wobbly out of the tri-oval, which is making it harder for these top line trucks to get in line with him.
Yeah, Mark Kalin doesn't look very confident behind the 666. Like maybe he's hanging back a little bit. Maybe they might even jump to the outside of the 666 for second spot.
That's definitely what I'm thinking is about to happen. Here we go. 3-wide move going to the outside. That is Mark Kalin, but he's going to get strung out by Brett Adams behind him. Brett Adams is going to stay in line and give a hard shove to the 666 of Kevin Santana going into 3 and 4. That's going to leave the 62 of Mark Kalin out to dry. He's going to be dropped back to the back of this second line.
Man, what Brett Adams did just there reminds me of my high school prom.
All right, so as Jay Felton leads this race, here comes Daniel Knight looking to the outside, surprising Kevin Santana, who gets a little bit wobbly. Brett Adams on the outside trying to help push Kevin Santana. They're going to push Daniel Knight possibly to the lead as they exit 1 and 2. It looks like Daniel Knight's got the position. Is he going to drop in line, or is he going to wait for the 666 to get there? No, he does not. He drops into line. The 666 tries to follow him, but the 5 truck of Jay Felton's now going to give Daniel Knight a nice shove, which, oh man, that was Brett Adams getting very close to the, oh, and we have contact. That's the leaders. This is going to be a big one.
Huber involved, looks like Mogard, and gosh, we're still stacking trucks up into this one.
All right, that started at the very front. That was the 66 truck getting into the side of Jay Felton in the 5. The 666 truck, rather. That was Kevin Santana who got into it. You're going to see it right here. Kevin Santana just trying to hug them, trying to get a little bit of a side draft there into the corner. And it looked like he just dropped down a little bit, and then a little bit of ghost contact led to this massive incident.
Well, I mean, he's got the Soylent Green sponsorship, and looks like that truck's been cannibalized.
So quite a few of our runners at the front are in trouble. Ken Huber, Adam Young, Mike Richter, and Adam Shane all in the pits. Looks like Ken Huber's going to call it a day already.
Yeah, no fast repair for these guys today, so a lot of these trucks are used up, and that's probably going to be about it.
Adam just approached that, nowhere to go, gets into the back of the trucks ahead of him, and just with major front end damage, that's going to be an engine replacement for sure.
Yeah, tough break. Can't really fault anybody for that one, but that does draw our first caution here on lap number 12.
So pit stops are happening now. Daniel Knight leads the field in, and it looks like everyone's going to take a pit stop. Now, this is a perfect time, Chris, for someone to try a strategy play, considering the fact that tire wear is not the biggest thing around here.
I was thinking just that same thing. If I were somebody running maybe towards the back of the field, needing to make up some track position, this would be the perfect time to just send it and hope for the best.
Well, it appears that the rest of the field disagrees with us because they have all come into the pits, with the exception of one Thomas Sink, who decides to stay out and take his chance at leading a lap. Thomas Sink is your new leader over Dana Knight, Brett Adams, and Blaine Adams, as well as Mark Kalin, who get out as your top five.
Would you say Thomas Sink floated to the top?
And not by chance at all. Thomas Sink with a decent strategy call. We've seen him make these before. That being said, Thomas Sink might be betting on that old adage that cautions breed cautions. Are you expecting that to be the case today, Chris?
You know, I'm pretty optimistic that I don't think we'll see too much in the way of cautions. I mean, even that one that we just saw was not really anybody's fault, so to speak. Like you said, kind of the ghost contact there kicked that off. So I think, I hope that this won't be a trend for this race.
You know, Chris, there's been a lot of arguments over the years about iRacing and side drafting. Have you found it to be effective in the races that you have done?
I can say I have not found it personally to be very effective, but I'm also what some would refer to as not good at it. So there's also that aspect as well.
Yeah, in my time driving, it has not been as effective as I would like it to be. It's definitely not as effective as it is in real life, but because of the way that the draft cone works, you can get a little bit of a tow if you're right up next to the right rear quarter panel. But the risk just does not outweigh the reward in any of the races that I've done. So I would expect to see side drafting to be in short supply today. So we have a few more drivers who are added to the queue of those who are in the pits. We have Kevin Santana and Jared Mogart, our winner from last week, who is in the pits with major damage. Rob Haynes as well, who is just coming out of pit lane now with some damage getting repaired. So they're all in and having trouble. It looks like Thomas Sink just wanted to get the point for leading a lap. He has now come into the pits and will start at the back of the field.
Not necessarily the way I would have played it, but nonetheless a strategy play by Thomas Sink to think long term with the season-long points chase.
Yeah, giving his team a little bit of a boost there as far as points go. So as they run, we have Daniel Knight in first with Brett Adams in second, who's going to be lining up outside of him as the lights go off on the pace car. Mike Kalin is going to start off in the, well, rather Blaine Adams starting off in third with Mark Kalin in fourth. J.R. Bash is going to start off fifth with Baron Hilton starting off sixth. Jay Felton in seventh. Stacey Hunter in eighth. Brandon Walter in 9th, and 10th is going to be Bradley Holly. And you may wonder why Bradley's up that far, and that is because we have a bunch of people in the pits topping off with fuel.
Well, I've seen this strategy play out before, where you take a quick splash of fuel before you go back to green, and that could definitely make the difference between running out on the last lap or making it to the finish.
Also, Chris, do you think people are nervous about how much action we saw at the front during that green flag run? You think they want to get to the back and maybe stay out of trouble if another big one should happen?
I'm sorry, Adam. I think my audio dropped out for that one.
Oh, just asking whether you think that they're worried about having another big one. That might be why they're getting fuel and dropping to the back.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea if I was going to be running this race. I would probably be hanging back there as well. I think that's a smart call to hang out back there, and if you can lengthen your ability to run in this one, it's not a bad strategy play to have more than enough than not enough.
So Thomas Sink falls back to the 16th position after the pit stops filter out. A lot of people following him in and doing exactly what he did. So, and we have lost 5 trucks already this race. And so as the pace car drops off, Daniel Knight will lead them to the green with Brett Adams lined up on his outside. Blaine Adams in third. Mark Kalin is in fourth in that second row with J.R. Bash, Baron Hilton, Jay Felton, Brandon Walter, Stacy Hunter, and Bradley Holly, your top 10. Daniel Knight leading them to green.
Very interesting looking restart here, Adam.
For sure, Daniel Knight waiting and waiting and waiting. He's waiting even longer than we did for the start. Now he gets on the throttle, but as you can see, the power just not really that much. Actually, on the outside, Ben Adams with a great run, getting pushed by Mark Kalin into 1 and 2. But now that bottom lane starting to tighten up a little bit more. Blaine Adams starting to catch up.
Yeah, Kalin and Adams on the outside there are definitely linked up, and they are surging down the back straightaway.
The bottom line is pretty well organized, and look at that. Kalin and Adams really streaming out ahead. Brett Adams, they're already clear of Daniel Knight on the bottom side. They're going to drop down and take that lead away, leaving, I believe that is Baron Hilton, strung out to dry on the high side.
That the old two-car tango that Daryl Walker used to talk about.
I believe so, and in the real-life racing of this, they're not allowed to hook up with each other like that in order to try and make passes, but look at this. That is the fourth-place driver, Blaine Adams, trying to go around the outside of Daniel Knight, but no support. I believe he's going to be able to make that move work.
Well, nonetheless, Kalen's going to really muscle his way down underneath there. He's got 2 tires beneath the double yellow line, which is not a penalty on iRacing. So he just muscles his way alongside Adams for that lower position, but he's going to run out of steam with no help, and Adams is going to be able to drop back down, but that little scuffle has now led to 17 and Knight take the lead. Oh, and things sound like they're not going great.
Oh, that was very close between the 28 of J.R. Bash and Mark Kalin. Once again, J.R. Bash getting doored. He just is getting bullied this race. They barely saved it from being a massive wreck there as they went 3 wide for the lead there in a massive pack of about 7 trucks. But now it's all sorted back out to pretty much what it was at the restart. Once we get back to the line, Daniel Knight in the lead with Brett Adams, Mark Kalin, Jay Felton, and Blaine Adams, your top 5.
Daniel Knight, the real beneficiary of that little fight there between Adams and Kalin for what was the lead, but unfortunately their little infighting has cost them both the position as Daniel Knight holds Steed out in front.
Yeah, and the top 7 drivers have separated themselves a little bit, and then we have a very strange little group, as you can see behind them. They're all strung out on that high side, just trying to give room, but surprisingly enough, it doesn't look like they want to catch up to this lead pack.
Well, the way that they're kind of pushing each other around right now, I don't think I'd want to catch up to the top pack either.
All right, so as we keep running, looks like everyone's just about single file with the exception of Blaine Adams, who's on that high side. Or Baron Hilton, rather, who's on the high side of the 99 of Brandon Walter, just kind of going around everyone on that outside. And look at this, we have J.R. Bash is going to jump up in front of him.
Yeah, great little move there, and looks like we have some movement on that outside line. The 33 of Blaine Adams is going to try to get the push there from a surge behind him. Looks like it's the 28 of J.R. Bash there giving him a shove. So Blaine Adams with a bit of a heads up.
They're starting to go around some of the lap trucks who are significantly damaged right now. And here comes the 7 of Paul Williams with a real head of steam, getting pushed by his teammate, the 24 of Josue Tellez. They're going to go around the outside of both of these guys, making it 3 wide down the front stretch like it's nobody's business.
Yeah, this is a tremendous push in that outside line. Looks like JR Bash has decided to at least temporarily give up his hopes with the 33 truck, as now Blaine Adams going to be left out to dry there in the middle.
So JR Bash drops down to the inside. Blaine Adams stuck there on the middle right now. And so the 24 and the 7 are really going to start steaming ahead. Look at the head of steam that they have. And following them up is going to be the 0-2 of Baron Hilton, who's going to catch up to that 33 and try and push him up to these two guys that we're watching on screen now.
It really does seem like the two trucks that get together like that are able to really surge ahead.
So here they go. They've taken the lead. They have a gap down to Daniel Knight on the bottom side, so they're going to drop down in front, and they have a gap of about 2 truck lengths. So that 2-truck tandem really working out very well for those drivers right there. That high side is proving to be super effective tonight.
Well, it's definitely making for an exciting race for all of us watching, but I can imagine it was probably a bit frustrating for Daniel Knight here in these restrictor plate, quote-unquote, style races. There's only so much defense you can do, and he was really just having to sit there and take it as those two trucks got around him.
Either that or Daniel Knight's just being very calm and letting things happen. As you see, the 23 Brett Adams went up to the high side. He's being pushed now by Blaine Adams, who's on the high side as well. Those two teammates and possibly brothers working together very well. That high line, now 4 trucks long. Let's see whether or not they can do the same thing that the two teammates of Paul Williams and Josue Tellez did to get to the top spot.
Doesn't look like they're able to really push ahead as quickly as Williams and Tellez were, but it does look like they're starting to make some progress.
As we're watching off the back of that 23 truck of Brett Adams, they're starting to get some movement going, but the top line is not moving with them, so they're having to do this with just 2 trucks, but it looks like it's working out right now. That bottom lane just not as fast through the corners, which is surprising to me, Chris. I mean, this is not a Talladega meta that I've really become used to.
Yeah, well, we did mention during the pre-race show that this is a lot of new stuff being thrown in to this race, and really the first time we've seen it all in action. So that could be part of why we're seeing such an uncharacteristic race for Talladega.
23 now is side by side for the lead. He might even lead coming off of this corner here, coming through the tri-oval with a good push from Blaine Adams in the back. That is going to be Brett Adams leading that lap. Let's see whether or not he gives enough room for Blaine Adams to come down with him, as we have the two teammates of Josue Tellez and Paul Williams in the 7 truck, who was leading the race, pushing themselves on the bottom lane. Now we have the 0-2 of Baron Hilton and JR Bash on the high side helping out as well. They're going to continue to push the 23 and the 33 teammates to the lead. The 23 and the 33 are clear, and they will drop down to that bottom side.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy for what we were expecting coming into this one. Looks like 7 of Williams still hanging out in the 3rd spot, and he now jumps to the outside. And we'll see if he gets any help up there. It looks like Jose Tellez wants to be there, but there's not quite enough room for him.
So Josue Tellez is actually going to drop to the inside and make that a 3-wide battle. Now he's going to drop above the 7, but he's actually going to have to stay in that second line, and he's going to have to leave his teammate out to dry. An interesting development here as the 7 jump possibly a little bit too early. Baron Hilton now in the 0-2 on that in the second truck on that high line, pushing that Diecast King truck to hopefully to the lead, but they're falling back a little bit now.
And keep in mind, of the drivers that took a time in qualifying, Baron Hilton was 18th out of 18. He set the slowest qualifying time, but guess what? He's now up there in the mix for the lead.
An update on our championship leader. Bradley Hawley is down in the 13th spot, just a little bit further back of this group. As we see, that's the 33 Blaine Adams, or the 23 Blaine Adams jumping to the lead. But Bradley Hawley right now running very safely, just a couple of seconds, just about a second and a half off of the lead, off of this front pack, riding right in behind Brandon Walter in that 99 truck. Looks like he's just biding his time.
Yeah, you got to think with a championship battle, probably first and foremost on his mind. He wants to be there at the end so he can try to contend for the win, and to get there you have to survive. So looks like he's hanging back and just trying to survive so he can be there at the end to maximize his championship points.
All right, so we've got a lot of lap trucks coming up. This is going to make things very interesting for those on the high side. Our first is going to be Colton Lane. He's way slow on the high side. This might get a little bit interesting. We've seen trouble with lapping trucks before here in the PRL series. So as Colton Lane goes by, next is Craig Holden. Craig Holden looks like he's going to stay on that high side, but now we have lap trucks on the bottom side. This is going to upset things a little bit. Mike Richter goes below the yellow line. Rob Haynes will be the next truck that they're going to have to try and pass. This is where things get really nervous if you're the leader of a Talladega race. And look at this. Rob Haynes unable to choose a line. He's going to have to drop down to the bottom of the track as well, which is going to push everyone up off that bottom line, which is going to bring everyone a little bit closer to the leaders.
That's one thing we touched on during qualifying, was when one truck is out on the truck by itself, or on the track by itself, I should say, it's about 3 to 4 seconds a lap slower than we see these trucks when they're running in the draft. So you got to think that these lap down trucks that are just hanging out and clicking laps off alone, they're going to get run down by the field with a full head of steam.
If you're wondering what the speed difference is for those drivers, we are talking about 10 to 20 miles per hour. That is the difference between you standing still and a car going past on a residential street. That is the speed difference that we're seeing right now. As they run, Brett Adams in the lead with Blaine Adams in second place, his teammate behind him. Daniel Knight still in third with Jay Felton in fourth and Nicholas Hunter in the fifth position. We'll jump on board with Daniel Knight, who led this race for a couple of laps, but now he's stuck in behind the 33 of Blaine Adams and the 23 of Brett Adams. What do you think his plan is? Do you think he's just riding at this point?
Well, I think we saw from Daniel early on that he wants to be out front. So I think if he finds the right partner, I wouldn't be surprised to see him make another push to be out front.
All right, now that we have just about crossed the halfway, we're going to take this opportunity to give you an opportunity to turn it up to 11 here. So turn up those sound systems, and let's hear the roar of these NASCAR Ganders RV and Outdoor Series trucks. So as we come back here, it looks like Paul Williams and the Josue Tellez there are once again together. They dropped back a little bit earlier on, but now they're back up together and back up to the top four on the outside. So they've got some help once again from Baron Hilton in the 0-2. So these guys have been quite effective in making that outside line work, and it looks like they're trying again.
Yeah, and looks like they're trying to link up on that outside line there. You got 3 trucks moving up there, trying to make a push towards the front, and looks like Jose Tellez is actually going to make a pretty good run there with a full head of steam.
Yeah, this is a good tryout for those final laps. Remember, we are on lap 29 of 50, and we've only had one caution so far, which is a miracle. All right, Chris, as we see Jose Tellez and Paul Williams making that charge to the outside, when is it go time for you?
Well, I think that point is definitely coming sooner than later. We're about to hit lap 30 of 50, so with roughly 20 laps remaining, I think if you're one of those guys hanging out towards the back, you got to think maybe in the next 5-10 laps, you need to start moving towards the front.
The outside lane was trying to get a good run, but it looks like they've lost a little bit of steam here as they try and get things going up there, but they're not going to be able to do so. They have another lap truck. Another lap truck coming up. That's Craig Holden on the outside. He is going quite slowly. He's only going 138 while these guys are going 183. That's about 50-mile-an-hour difference. So as they go by, things very tight there.
Yeah, it looks like Craig does a pretty good job of getting up out of the way. I mean, there's only so much you can do when the trucks are 2 and sometimes 3 wide. But he did a pretty solid job of avoiding the pack and giving these guys plenty of room while they race for position.
Now I've got Colton Lane and Mike Richter, and it looks like Paul Williams and Jose Tellez are actually backing out of this charge. They're starting to drop back on that high side. We know they have the speed, but it looks like they're backing up for strategic purposes.
Yeah, one big part of this is you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable. And if you move up front too quick, you are basically the one that has to respond to what people do behind you instead of being the one to make the move. So I think it's probably a smart bet to maybe hang back and wait till a little bit later on to make that last push towards the front.
Another thing I was thinking about is you got to realize that these two guys are dropping back now. They're going to drop. They might drop down in front of Brandon Walter, but do you think they might be going back and picking up our championship leader, Bradley Hawley? Because if anyone's going to help you push to the front, he would be the one to do it.
It wouldn't surprise me too much if that was the strategy move. I mean, we're getting to the point where the laps are winding down, and I think Holly's got a pretty good chance of survival at this point, so he might be ready to start making that drive up towards the front.
There's Bradley Hawley. We're going to jump on board with him as he's still riding around right now. We're going into lap 32 of 50 here. Laps at this stage are not going to happen as quickly as these drivers want them to. This is where the strain starts to get to you a little bit. And Bradley Hawley just riding around right there. You see those trucks up at the top side up ahead of them. That is going to be Nicholas Hunter in the 109 truck with Baron Hilton and John LaBeouf lined up behind him. You're actually going to make a charge to the lead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that. Looks like a charge up front with Nicholas Hunter and Baron Hilton getting the push on the outside there.
Brett Adams and Blaine Adams have run relatively uncontested for the last 10 or so laps. Now they've got a little bit of a challenge going on from Nicholas Hunter, but it looks like Baron Hilton's running out of engine temperature. He's having to duck out quite a bit more often, and that's really negating that run they have on the high side.
Now, as this race goes on, are they going to be a little more prone to getting hot like that, or is it just possibly bad luck for Hilton?
Well, we haven't talked about the track temperature yet today, but it's actually fairly low for a Talladega race. Only 81 degrees Fahrenheit right now on track. Wind is pretty negligible as well, only 2 miles an hour out of the north, so these drivers are not getting pushed around that much out there on track, and the track temperature is fairly low, so these trucks should be good to go for a couple of laps stuck in behind somebody, so I wouldn't expect to see too many blowups tonight. So we're on board with Nicholas Hunter, who's on that outside trying to challenge for the third position against Daniel Knight.
Yeah, as you can see here, there's so much room to run here at Talladega. Unfortunately, Hunter losing ground as it goes on. And looks like those three trucks up front are going to stay there for now.
Oh, look at this, Daniel Knight taking a little bit of a look to the outside there. He's going to think about giving a little bit of a draft to Nicholas Hunter, but he does not jump out in front of him as they get along side by side. So Daniel Knight still biding his time in that red truck, third in line on the bottom side. Another driver we haven't talked about a lot of who's been up there the whole time is Jay Felton in that 5 truck, fourth in line on the bottom side in that white, black, and orange truck, the virtual racing school truck. He's doing a good job just by himself. He doesn't have any teammates helping him out like these other two drivers, the other 4 drivers at the front. Brett Adams, Blaine Adams are teammates, and Nicholas Hunter and Baron Hilton are also teammates.
Yeah, I was wondering when the team game would start to really play a factor, and as we get towards the end here, we could really see it kicking in.
We have a lot of rescue racing trucks on that high side. Here we go as we get a very interesting moment with some lap trucks. We have Mike Richter, who's going to go to the bottom side, and then we have Colton Lane, who's going to go to the high side. This is going to be very nerve-wracking for those guys who are side by side, but fortunately, everyone's able to make it through cleanly. Jumping on board now with John LaBeouf.
One thing that's got to be difficult is trying to make sure nothing happens ahead of you as well. And when you're locked in behind somebody, as you guys can see here, it's really hard to see up ahead of you over the spoiler and everything on the truck in front of you. So it's a bit of a challenge, even just being a passenger riding along in one of these trucks.
And one thing we've neglected to mention, Chris, green flag pit stops. We've had a couple. Bradley Holly's taken his. Adam Zemke, Stacy Hunter have taken theirs as well. So everyone who is... Yeah, it looks like we have quite a few green flag pit stops going on, but this is going to really shake things up because we're getting into the latter bit of this race, and everyone's going to be in go mode coming off of the pit lane because it's really going to start to be go time soon.
And keep in mind, you do not want to be the driver that pits by himself. You want to have a partner down there on pit road with you.
Looks like Paul Williams, Josue Tellez are going to come into pit lane, as well as Matthew Aubrey, who's also in pit lane. He's a lap off the lead. So these two drivers, we've seen them be very, very fast. And it looks like the leaders are starting to string out single file, probably preparing for their pit stops as well. So this is something that was a little bit unexpected. I would have thought maybe with that first caution they could have made it to the end, but nobody's been saving enough fuel to do so.
Yeah, I'm very surprised there that we didn't see more people. We haven't seen more people stay out and try to push it.
Look at this. These folks are going to stay out one more lap and try and get by. Here we go with Dominic Pagine up ahead of these guys. He is a lap truck. He's not playing super nice with these guys, though. It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not we go 3 wide here. That's actually going to hold up John LeBaff on the high side. So very challenging moment there. This brings Baron Hilton back into effect in the 0-2. He'd fallen off a little bit from these guys, but now they're all single file running on that yellow line on the bottom side. Brett Adams, Blaine Adams, Daniel Knight, Jay Felton, and John LeBaff now diving to the high side.
You got to think maybe LeBaff was waiting a while before he had found pit road because he's been very racy this last lap, and he's still kind of hanging out on that outside line.
Well, you think it's possible, Chris, that he might stay out and try and lead a lap here, but if he does so, he would need to have teammates to help him out. Fortunately, he has 2 teammates tucked in behind him, so maybe that'll help.
Yeah, still quite a few different ways this could go.
So if you're wondering whether or not that pit stop worked out in Bradley Holly's favor, it did. He is now up to 10th position behind Mark Kaling. Now granted, they're about half a lap off of the leaders, but he has gained positions ever since taking that pit stop. And once these leaders pit, he's only 37 seconds behind. And with a 27 to 29 second pit road delta, they will be very close coming back onto the backstretch with these leaders.
Yeah, and that's not just, you got to think about not just the pit road delta, but also how long it's going to take those trucks to get back up to speed once they're back on the track.
So Bradley Holly is just now exiting turn 2, and our leaders are just now entering 1 and 2, so he's about 3/4 of a lap off. Now the speed difference is where things get interesting here. The leaders are doing 184, 183 through the corners, whereas Bradley Holly is doing the same speed, so he's not losing time to these leaders right now through the turns that much. Taking a look at our leader, Brett Adams. He's being followed by his teammate Blaine Adams and Daniel Knight. This 3-car has actually led to a little bit of a breakaway.
Yeah, it looks like there's a bit of breathing room between them and Felton right now.
And Rescue Racing is coming in. John LeBaff, Nicholas Hunter, and Baron Hilton and JR Bash are all in pit lane. Nicholas Hunter was actually slowing down on the racing surface, which will get a couple of frowns from his racing competitor. So very short pit stops for Baron Hilton, Nicholas Hunter. Well, JR Bash and Nicholas Hunter and John LeBaff all having short pit stops, so they're all going to get out. The leaders, though, have yet to pit their second time.
Now, with them having been up front this whole time, you got to imagine they'd probably be one of the first ones in need of a pit stop.
but they're going to go around one more time. This is a pack of only 4 trucks here. Brett Adams, Blaine Adams, Daniel Knight, and Jay Felton. Now, for those of you interested in how this has worked out for our championship leader of Bradley, he has actually worked extremely well through this, and he has actually passed Charles Sumner, Brendan Chatley, and Brandon Walter, and is now up to 5th position. So, when these leaders pit, expect him to possibly inherit the lead.
Well, after paying such close attention to this series, Bradley Holly coming up to take a win away here at the end would not surprise me one bit.
Wouldn't surprise me either. The only trouble is that Brandon Walter is a pretty aggressive pusher, so that could be something that causes you trouble later on in the race. But here we go. We're in about 9 laps to go here, and these leaders have yet to pit. It can't be possible that they saved enough fuel to make it to the end, could it?
I wouldn't think so. They've been hanging out up front pretty much this whole time.
And Daniel Knight started this latest run close to the lead. They're 31 laps into this stint. So if they could make it to the end, it would be a miracle. The one who I think might be able to make it to the end is Daniel Knight, because he's been behind Brett and Blaine for the longest amount of time, but he doesn't have any teammates to help him. So he'd have to do it on his own, unless Jay Felton has been going about half throttle, which his distance behind Daniel Knight implies that he has. This could get very interesting at the end here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of moving pieces that are going to go into the finish of this one. A lot of drivers that could have been saving, a lot that probably haven't. And then you have the drivers that took the chance on a pit stop and those that didn't. And we have 7 laps to find out what's going to happen.
So Bradley Holly, 37.766 seconds behind the leader, Brett Adams, who currently leads a train of 4 cars. One of his teammate, which is Blaine Adams, and then we have Daniel Knight and Jay Felton, who are both unaffiliated with one another, but have been saving fuel behind these 2 leaders for quite a while. We're looking at the pack that has Bradley Holly, Brandon Walter, Charles Sumner, and Brendan Chatley.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we have an interesting development here with John LaBaff and Nicholas Hunter on that high side there. So they're trying to get past up to the lead of this pack that Bradley Holly's a part of. So that'll be fascinating as our leaders go around one more time. And there we go again. The rescue racing trucks all to that high side. They're going to try and make something happen here.
Yeah, I want to say this is probably going to be the battle for the lead once everything shakes out, but even then I'm not super sure. But that rescue racing squad linking up and trying to march towards the front.
We're on board with Nicholas Hunter now as he's tucked in behind his teammate of Brendan Chatley. He's got some help with the 911 of John LaBaff and the 312 of Austin Hunter behind him. Now they've got a lap truck of Stacy Hunter. This is going to make things a little bit nervous. John LaBaff's going to duck out from behind him. Ooh, that got a little bit close there through the corner. And it looks like our leaders have come in pit except for Jay Felton.
So it looks like we found out how long they were going to wait. But now the eyes all turn to Jay Felton, who's not only out there by himself, but is leading.
Well, he's actually not out there by himself. He's actually got some help right now. But Brett Adams, look at this. He's a long time in pit road. So he's going to get passed by the pack. He's not going to be able to get this at all. So Jay Felton now is being pushed by trucks that have lapped, and he's going to take to the pits now, so he can only go 1 lap more. He's going to come out all alone, Chris.
Well, we'll make sure to play a slow jam for him.
So Blaine Adams and Daniel Knight are coming out onto track now. Bradley Holly is coming with a head of steam, and those 2 guys are separated, so they're not gaining speed. Bradley Holly is in the best position to inherit the lead here, but he's going to have to make it by these 2 drivers who want to slow him down. And here's the other surprise, Chris. If that topside gets to him before he catches up to Daniel Knight and Blaine Adams, he might be in trouble.
Yeah, they could start racing in this pack as well, and that may slow them down a bit as well. They're running down our leaders right now.
We are 4 to go this time by. It is definitely go time, and these two guys currently leading are about to get passed by Bradley Holly. Take a look at this, a block move. Bradley's going to go all the way to the top, 3 wide, and try and get by, but they're going to stack up on the bottom side. Bradley Holly with no support. He's going to get it from the Rescue Racing team. He's actually going to drop down into the second line. Here comes the 17 truck to help him out as Daniel Knight, but look at those Rescue Racing trucks on the high side. We are now 3 wide at Talladega.
It's good to have friends at the right time. The Rescue Racing Squad all linked up on that outside line. The 33 of Blaine Adams trying to block 3 wide. He gets up in front of the 184, pins the inside line behind the 5 of Jay Felton. They're 4 wide as we head down the track. This is getting insane.
All right, so things are getting really spicy here. This is why we love Talladega. Everything cracking off here at the last moment. They're still 3 wide behind them. That's Thomas Sink and Paul Williams, who were side by side, but now they've strung out single file because they had to get past the not lap truck of Jay Felton, who was just going slow right there. So everyone's still single file now as we're 3 to go.
Now looks like the Rescue Racing trucks are starting to build up a head of steam there on the outside. They're going to try to make a push. Looks like they're going to get separated.
Yeah, that was Nicholas Hunter actually blocking Brandon Walter, who was trying to come through on the bottom side. This is going to push John LaBeouf and the 59 truck of Brendan Chatley to the high side. They're actually going to lose time here. But look at this. Blaine Adams trying to hold off Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight for the lead. Here we go. Coming to 2 to go this time.
There's so many moves that could be happening here in the very near future. What does Daniel Knight do? What does Bradley Holly do? And when do the Rescue Racing Squad get up there to challenge them as well?
Now remember, Chris, Bradley Holly is leading the championship. He does not want to take an unnecessary risk right now. I think he'd be happy with that second position if he had to take it. So don't expect him to be challenging for the lead. Expect these Rescue Racing trucks on the high side with the 911 of John LaBeouf and Brandon Chatley to go for it. Oh, a hard hit into Daniel Knight. That's going to break up all of the momentum. Now they're 3 wide once again. This is a big mess, and there's the wreck. We're going to have a caution here. It's going to be a green-white checker for the finish.
Well, I'm going to be honest. When I saw the Rescue Racing Squad get into the back of Daniel Knight, I really thought that was going to be game over for Knight, but it did not really seem to slow him down at all. It did stack up the field behind him.
We're going to take a look at Daniel Knight because he's the one who got clobbered in the backup, and then everything started cracking off behind him. So we're going to see it right here. Daniel Knight tucked in there behind these 2 leaders. He's going to see the Rescue Racing trucks go and try and get up there. He's going to get knocked really hard, and then they start backing up right there, and the 59 of Brendan Chatley just starts bottling up everyone, and that looks like that was the 5 of Jay Felton, I believe, who got spun around there.
Yeah, tough break for Felton in the 5. Who I think had a pretty solid day going. Led a lap there at one point and was looking like he could be in the mix there at the end. Unfortunately, just gets caught up in someone else's chain reaction incident.
So a decent amount of the Rescue Racing trucks are now in trouble. They're going to be going to the pits. So, all right, Chris, it's a green-white checker. What do you do? How do you handle it? Do you come to the pit lane? Do you stay out? What's your thought process as far as strategy here?
Just send it. Just stay out there and I mean, what else are you gonna do at this point? It's Talladega, Rubbins racing, all that stuff. So get out there, shake and bake, whatever Cole Trickle said. Just do it.
So as they run, Blaine Adams will lead us to the green flag with Bradley Holly in second place, Daniel Knight in third, and Nicholas Hunter fourth, Brandon Walter fifth, Thomas Sink up to sixth position, Brendan Chatley still in seventh with John LaBeouf in eighth, Mark Kalin ninth, and Charles Sumner in 10th position. Here's another thing to think about, Chris. These guys budgeted fuel. Do you think they budgeted enough fuel for a green-white checker, or do you think that they just budgeted enough fuel to make it to the end of the race?
Well, I can tell you this much. If they did not budget fuel for the possibility of a green-white checker, they're going to be really, really sad here really quick.
Absolutely. The one I'm keeping my eye on is Bradley Holly in that second position. He is going to be in an interesting scenario because he's going to be lining up on that outside line. And if he doesn't get a good jump, that might be his race just over. Now, remember that in order for the green white checker to be final, they're going to have to make it back to they're going to have to make it all the way around this 2.66-mile circuit and all the way back to the white flag without having caused another caution. Now, considering we've seen the trucks spread out a bunch at the begin at these restarts, that seems like a probability, but it's not a sure thing.
Yeah, it's one thing to be giving and letting people in when you're running towards the middle of the race, but the last 2 laps of the race, I don't think we're going to see people being very friendly and accommodating.
All right, our bat-eared viewers are hearing Bradley Holly turning his motor off under yellow flag. This is a fuel-saving strategy, so that's going to make me think whether or not he's close on fuel or whether he's predicting that we might not make it on this green white checker.
Well, yeah, I got to believe with the possibility of multiple green-white checker finishes, you're going to want to save as much as you can just for the simple fact of you don't know how far you're going to have to stretch the fuel.
So once again, as they run, we have Blaine Adams, Daniel Knight in second position with Bradley Holly. Well, it appears that Daniel Knight's in second, but they haven't crossed the line yet. I'm pretty sure Bradley Holly's in second position with Daniel Knight in third, Nicholas Hunter in fourth position, and Brandon Walter in fifth position. And I can confirm that we only have one green-white checkered attempt, so everyone's getting ready and geared up to go. Looks like we've had some more people come into pit lane, possibly to top off with fuel, or maybe get four tires and up their chances of having a controlled restart.
That's right. So the drivers on the track just basically trying to stretch their fuel to be able to make it these last couple laps. The lights are still on the pace car. They do use significantly less fuel when they're under caution, but they are still using it as long as the motor's running.
Unfortunately for them, we only have one green-white checker because we'll be very, very close to the time limit by the time we get done with this only green-white checkered attempt. So these drivers are fortunately not going to have to um, deal with the roll of the dice that we get when the timer runs out with green white checker flags here. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the strategies are going into this and whether or not it's single file coming into that final lap, because we've seen a couple of times in this truck series drivers in that second position not take opportunities to try and challenge for the win on the final lap and take a good finish.
Yeah, and with Bradley Holly having the championship to think about, it would not surprise me one bit to see him take it easy and not risk things too much. But you have a lot of very hungry drivers that are behind him. That this pretty much is going to be their first chance at a win this season. So they're like we've talked about throughout this show. There's a lot of different agendas at play right now.
With many hungry drivers behind him, not least of which is Daniel Knight in that third position. That block that he made to that high side, well, it wasn't a block. I think he was actually trying to go with the rescue racing team and just surprised them a little bit. That ended up leading to this final caution. You can tell he's hungry for the win here, so expect him to try and keep Bradley Holly on that high side and get in behind Blade Adams so he has an opportunity to try and challenge for the win.
So if the chips are down, you have to pick one driver to bet it all on. Who do you got your money on, Adam?
I mean, you'd be a fool not to pick Bradley Holly, but I'm going to be a fool, and I'm going to pick Blaine Adams because I think when the restart happens, Bradley's going to be able to slot in behind Blaine, and then I believe that he's going to take the safe way and take his points today and stay in second. Looks like a director has decided to pick Dominic Bajin as his chance for the win. Dominic all the way back in the 11th position, but here at Talladega, it ain't over till it's over.
I was gonna say stranger things have happened at this track. They do say that this is the same grounds as an ancient Indian burial ground, and as such, the property is cursed. And it could work in the favor of Dominic Beijing.
Well, they're going to have to get this race done quickly because we're running out of daylight here. It is quite late. It is 6:33 in sim time here in the race, and the lights are off on the pace car, and that's a good thing because these drivers are going to have a hard time seeing out their front windshields after this final restart. So we're just barely going to be able to get our laps in here before the sun fully sets, and these drivers have to take it off the track. But the fireworks should look beautiful. So leading back to the start is going to be Blaine Adams with Bradley Hawley in the second position. Daniel Knight is going to line up in third with Nicholas Hunter in fourth and Brandon Walter in fifth position. Brendan Chatley down there in sixth. Alongside him is going to be Thomas Sink. We haven't talked about him much today, but he's also aggressive. Expect him to be challenging for the win. John LeBaff is going to be in eighth position. And then we've got Mark Kalin in ninth and Charles Sumner rounding out your top 10. Blaine will lead them to the flag.
That's one thing I didn't think about till just now is how many drivers in this division could really be considered pretty aggressive. And looking at the front of this field, I think most of them are running towards the front right now.
All right, so as the pace car drops down to the apron, he's going to pull off. And now remember, Blaine Adams can go at any time after that. This is a big, wide field of time that all these drivers have to anticipate his start. So here we go. He can go now if he wants to, but he's choosing to hold it up. He's choosing to wait. They cross into the NASCAR restart zone. Blaine Adams still waiting. Bradley Hawley actually falling off a little bit. Still waiting, and now they go. And actually, Bradley Hawley with an excellent launch on that outside. But how much of an advantage is that going to get him here as he's alongside Blaine Adams for that lead? Here we go. Daniel Knight looking to that high side. He thinks better if it stays down low and sticks Bradley on the outside all alone.
Don't look now, but Nicholas Hunter and Thomas. Oh, Hawley gets into the wall.
He's not going to win this race at all. He's going to have no opportunity. He's going to stay high. There's not going to be a wreck. Keep going.
Well, that's going to be very detrimental to his championship hopes. It's now Daniel Knight on the back bumper of Blaine Adams. You have that second group beginning to form up with 99 and Brandon Walter. He's going to be there with the 109 giving him a push. Pulls alongside second place right now. Caution is on the track.
And that should end this race here. That will possibly get Blaine Adams the win. We're going to see how everything sorts out here as they cross the line. Things getting very interesting here. Let's see how this is going to sort out. So as they cross the line, Blaine Adams is going to be in the lead with Daniel Knight in second and Brandon Walter in third position. Looks like that wreck was, I believe that was Jose Tellez. So we're on the final lap now. So Blaine Adams is going to take them relatively slowly to the line here with Daniel Knight following him, Brandon Walter in third, Brendan Chatley in fourth, and Nicholas Hunter in fifth. It wasn't the finish that we wanted, Chris, but there was still plenty of action tonight.
Yeah, I can say without any hesitation that finish did not go as I expected.
So as they line up behind the pace car, we're going to see what happens here. I believe this will finish the race. We are seeing the finishing graphic pop up given to us by iRacing. Blaine Adams is going to make sure that the pace car finishes ahead of him so he doesn't get a black flag. And then Blaine Adams will mosey it, getting pushed by Daniel Knight. Is Blaine out of fuel? That would really surprise me. Blaine Adams is going to win out of fuel? He's still coasting after he crosses the line. Blaine Adams is going to win with no fuel in the tank. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a bit of a different finish.
So Blaine Adams would not have made it to the flag. All right, we're gonna take a replay of this restart, and we're gonna take a look at what happened. First thing that happened was Bradley Holly getting that little bump, and I can confirm Blaine Adams is definitely out of fuel. So we're gonna take a look at Josue Tellez, who is down on the bottom side. When this restart happens, Bradley Holly looked like he either lost it a little bit or got doored. I wasn't able to see which. So as they come to the restart, we're watching it now. Blaine Adams is going to go right about now, and that's when everyone's going to start rolling. Josue Tellez is down on the bottom side, and this wreck actually happens out through 3 and 4 on this lap. So we're going to have an opportunity to see what happened to Bradley Holly here very shortly. So right about here, Bradley Holly gets doored, and he's going to go to the high side. There it is, him getting doored, going to the high side. So he is actually able to keep going and come home in 15th position. But then the 24 of Josue Tellez gets involved in this incident that happens further on down the track. It'll happen entering the Oh, look at that. He gets into the 28. The unfortunate 28 truck of JR Bash, who's been hit around like a ping pong ball today. And JR was just checking up, and Josue was keeping his foot in it. So that's going to take us to a short break, but don't go anywhere. We will have the official results as well as a couple of interviews for you shortly after this, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. After an exciting race, one full of strategy and chaos, as well as a fantastic finish, Blaine Adams is going to take the win here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by Diecast Kings. And he is going to do it out of fuel, getting pushed to the line by Daniel Knight, who comes home in second position. Brandon Walters going to come home in third, with Brendan Chatley in fourth and Nicholas Hunter in fifth position. Mark Kalin recovers to sixth position, with Thomas Sink coming home in seventh. Dominic Bajin made it up from 11th to 8th position, so not too shabby for about half a lap of racing. John LaBaff comes home in ninth, and Paul Williams in 10th.
Just outside of the top 10 was Adam Zemke in the 11th position, with Brett Adams, our final finisher, on the lead lap in 12th. Then you're going to see Barron Hilton and Jose Tellez, who was involved in that last caution. Bradley Holly, Austin Hunter, Charles Sumner, JR Bash, Stacy Hunter, and Matthew Aubrey pretty much all the drivers that were caught up in that last caution completed the top 20.
And the rest of the results you will see scroll by on your screen, most of these being DNFs, starting with Jay Felton, Rob Haynes, and then Adam Young starts your true DNFs. But we have some drivers to talk to, the first being Daniel Knight, our second place finisher. So Daniel, I'm pretty sure you were aware that Blaine ran out of fuel. And I know that you had to push him to the line or else get a black flag yourself, but talk me through that final restart.
I was just, the tires were sketchy and I was just trying to push as hard as I could without wrecking everybody. But actually, I thought it was over when Holly got net coated up into the wall, but just kept in it. Somehow survived.
And Daniel, you were riding in that third position most of the day, but when it came time to go, it looked like you were pulling up in front of those rescue racing guys. I'm assuming you were trying to go with them and not put on a block. Talk to me about what happened for that move.
Actually, I was just trying to kill their momentum. Really, I was banking on the fact that he would lift and kill the momentum himself, but he used my rear bumper. So I guess that's what I expect when I block a move like that. But yeah, I mean, we were 2 to go, and I saw that train coming, and I figured I had to stop it, or we were all going to get swallowed whole.
So, Daniel, what was your strategy if you would have kept that down? How would you have gone about trying to get the win?
Well, I was already setting it up. Right before that wreck happened, when I think Walter was coming high on the outside, and I was debating to go ahead with him and try to get in front just in case they wrecked, but I kind of wanted to stay right behind the 23 there, or I think the 33, one of the Adams, and kind of set him up and do a last lap, last straight pass, and see how it worked out.
Well, Daniel, a good finish tonight coming home in second, but next week we go to the concrete cliffs of Dover. Is that one track that you like, or is that one that you wish you could avoid?
I love Dover. Personally, in the trucks, I'm not a fan of the mile and a half and bigger. I like the short tracks, which like I had a good run at Richmond last week, and I'm really excited about Dover. So that should be a lot of fun.
Well, fantastic finish tonight. We look forward to seeing you at that race.
Thanks.
That was Daniel Knight, our second place finisher tonight. And next up, we have Brandon Walter, who came home in third.
How you doing, Adam?
Hey, Brandon, kind of a up and down day for you a little bit. You had a little bit of everything thrown your way. Tell us a little bit about what you went through today to come home in third.
I just stay with my team. We're just trying to stay in line, stay out of trouble. That first wreck that happened, we were quite a bit back, so we just woed up and made sure none of us got in. I know Colton unfortunately did, but the rest of the time, we had to pit and just play fuel strategy at that point. So we were just trying to stay as tight and in a line as we could, so we could eventually catch the leaders.
Now, had this race stayed green to the finish, what were your plans on trying to get to the front?
I was hoping maybe Daniel would come up. If not, I had Nick Hunter, good buddy of mine. He was pushing me on the outside. I was hoping to kind of just stay even with them and maybe inch out for the win next lap around, but I guess we'll never know on that point.
Now, with a vastly different track like Dover coming up next week, how do you prepare to make the changeover from a track that's so different here at Talladega to one that's a huge switch over like Dover?
Just got to run practice laps. Just got to take that mindset of it's a 1 mile. It's very difficult. It's a fun track. Not one of my best tracks, but I've won there on official races, not in any league stuff. So just gotta erase Talladega out of your memory for a bit and go back to a lot of braking and lifting.
All right, Brandon, and as we kind of wrap up here, who do you want to thank that helped make your race possible?
Well, I got to thank my Whataback Racing guys, Brad, Tom, Charles, Bubba, and Colton, all of them sticking with me. Want to thank Road Trip Transport and Chevy Accessories, and then Area 51 Chassis Design.
Well, thanks for joining us, and congratulations on a great run today, Brandon.
Thanks for the broadcast, guys.
All right, and Adam, I believe you're catching up with another one of our runners here today.
Yeah, Nicholas Hunter claiming that final top 5 position. All right, Nicholas, you're running well and hard with your rescue racing teammates today. Talk to me about that second last caution. What did it look like from your point of view?
I am coming down from the craziest like adrenaline high right now. The way that just unfolded, I saw Brad just lose complete control, and I definitely said some choice words that are not broadcast friendly. But I'm glad I just lived through it and able to make this my career best with PRL, a top 5.
Yeah, you had a good run all night. Looks like you guys were all playing the team game with that long green flag run there in the middle with the green flag pit stops. How tough is it to make the strategy calls there? Were you talking to your teammates the whole way?
Everybody at Rescue Racing, Brandon Chatley, especially calling out all the calls, and of course, I had John pushing me the whole way too. We were trying to figure out how to stay with the lead pack. Um, just trying to pull in and get some gas, and then leaving the pits on the tire wear that we had. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but me trying to leave the pit lane or get back on the track, I hit a bump and I almost took out that whole pack. That's how sketchy it was for me personally. But as a team, we were just talking left and right and just making the executive decisions to cut through the pack like we did.
Well, Nick, since this is one of the first times we have you up here, is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go tonight?
Of course, you guys for putting on a fantastic broadcast. So GSRC, PRL, and the guys running with all that. Um, our other sponsors, ETC, Roman Delight, Inline 309, American Breadcrumb Company, CRB Construction, friends and family, especially my wife putting up with me this whole time during the quarantine, and of course our team, the teammates of Rescue Racing. We're raising money for 2 animal shelters, as you guys probably know, Philly Paws and Camo Animal Rescue. And we're always accepting sponsors and donations on our website at rescue-racing.com.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Nick, and we look forward to seeing you at Dover.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a good night.
All right, that was Nicholas Hunter, our 5th place finisher, and that's going to wrap us up for tonight. We want to give a big thank you to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to this season's sponsors, Diecast Kings at shopdiecastkings.com and the ButtKicker. Fantastic products both. We also want to give a thank you to the companies that provided the software and hardware for our broadcasts, which are listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to today's crew, Sean, Chris, and Dougie. And a special thank you to those of you who are watching tonight. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment of action here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race is going to be at Dover. Always a fun one here in the PRL. That's going to be Wednesday, April 29th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We look forward to seeing you there. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. We hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you. And we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.